we're gonna delve into the second panel session, which would be speaking to
the future of work, using digitization and innovation to transform the Nigerian labor market. And of course, this is a jam-packed panel discussion. And as we go about it, this is our first panel session for the morning. Of course, after the fireside chat, we will call the speakers and the panelists to the front, and please, let's show them a bit of love. It's not easy to come up here and stand and speak. So as we call them to the front, please just give them a bit of a round of applause and just encourage them onto the stage. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Samuel Okwa, who is CEO Siteworx. Are you here? Please,
we
a round
can clap
of applause.
better. We want to call Mrs. Oiza Nicholson. This is the country director to Palladium Group. We can give her a round of applause.
Mrs. Feyisayo Alayande is Executive Secretary, CEO, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, LSETF.
I also wish to welcome the co-founder of Blockchain Hub Africa, Mr. Chinedu Emmanuel. Please come up to the front and take your seats as we call you.
Let's also make welcome on stage Country Manager, PowerLearn Project, Balogun.
And then last but not least, the moderator for this session, partner and DBD Global, Oyeka Nwobu. Again, I just like to emphasize that this panel discussion is tagged the future of work. So after you've gotten that Allison certificate, this is the kind of discussion that you want to listen to. The future of work, using digitization and innovation to transform Nigerian labor markets. A round of applause for them.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, partners. I'd like to welcome you to the future of work. This is a panel session where we will collaboratively explore how using digitalization and innovation can transform the Nigerian labor market. Now, according to the World Economic Forum, the world of work has been revolutionized over the past 2 decades. Mobile devices, e-commerce and social media have dramatically reshaped how and where we work. But today, we find ourselves on the cusp of something even more profound, of an even more profound change, one that is driven by artificial intelligence. Now, AI is not just altering jobs, it is creating new roles, redefining skills, and sparking unprecedented innovation across every sector. Here in Nigeria, the digital transformation we witness is accelerating rapidly, and from the rise of remote work to the emergence of AI-driven efficiency tools, traditional labor structures are being disrupted and reimagined. So the question before us is no longer if change is going to come, but how we can harness this revolution to strengthen our economy. How can we leverage these innovations to enhance employability, empower our young workforce, and build a resilient future for our nation? As we gather here today, I'd like to invite you to explore with us the boundless opportunities that this digital era presents. I want us to leverage this dialogue session to challenge ourselves to think boldly and act decisively in retooling skills and creating sustainable growth. And now we're going to kick off the panel session. So I'd like to thank our speakers for joining us. I believe it's going to be a very enlightening session. And I'm going to start with, I think it's important that we start the conversation with workforce readiness. As an employer, as an employer of labor, I tend to find that it's a big thing. You hire someone and it's you're even wondering, are they ready to even do the work? Are they ready to be in the workforce? So I think let's start with around that premise. So I'm going to throw this question to Mr. Samuel. Mr. Samuel Okwa, yes. So my question is around Nigeria's blue-collar workers and artisans, and just around them being often left behind in digital transformation. The question I have is, how can AI-driven platforms create meaningful employment opportunities for this sector, especially given that they make up majority, the informal sector, they form majority of the workforce?
All right, thank you very much. Okay, I'll start by saying that in construction is one of the slowest sectors to catch up with technological evolution, especially when it comes to software technology and AI, right? In Nigeria, presently, there's a system of recruiting construction workers. That's number one. Number two, the system for career growth or personal development or improvement for these blue-collar workers is, it's in place, but it's not really broadly implemented. Quite recently, and recently is like in the past 10 years, we've seen that the collaboration between the private sector and the public sector has seen systems being put in place for certification and assessment for these workers, right? But then post-certification and assessment, there is little data as to how these artisans are actually doing and what kind of jobs they're able to get, right? So recently we had put up a platform. First off, we started by just collecting the data and information of construction workers, and then just reaching out to construction companies or real estate firms or repair companies to be able to outsource these guys to them. But that's a very, very slow process and it's very inefficient. So we thought about what kinds of platforms can enable these artisans to be independent and then to be accessible to the public. So we thought of something like an Uber-like application, because you just need to enter your location and then it pulls up the kinds of artisans that are there. But the good thing about these platforms is that we collect the profiles of these construction workers. We collect a bit of data about their skill sets, right? And then this data, because when someone comes and says, I'm a mason or I'm a plumber, that's just broad information. What kind of mason or what level or what quality of work can you be able to do? Which is not really available. But then if you have digital systems that can assess these artisans, you'll be able to know what level these artisans are. And then it's easy for you to be able to allocate jobs to them. Because if we say transformation is not in construction, digital transformation doesn't really affect construction as much as other sectors like healthcare and oil and gas. It is still effective when it comes to manufacturing. So there are newer type of light bulbs, there are newer type of switches. But however, not every type of artisan or workers are able to handle those kinds of repairs. So when we have the data of these artisans and their skill sets, it's easy, because if you see the theory of natural selection, over time, the ratings from the customers and then them imputing progress about their jobs would create a system where a lot more broader data about these artisans and these workers are able to be available for a system to be able to process as to where and what type of jobs these artisans are able to do. So once we have systems that can be able to assess and place these artisans, to be easy for the data to be utilized to be able to apportion them to what kinds of jobs are available. So those are the kind of transformations that AI is bringing into the sector at this point for construction work.
So if I understand correctly, the focus has to be on assessing their skill sets?
Yeah, the focus has to be on assessing the quality of their work.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to move on to Mrs. Ajo Balogun. And I'm going to oh, sorry. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Yes? Okay. I'm going to ask, just in my experience, and I think also confirmed by, other employers, there are many workforce training programs that I believe, I stand to be corrected, focus too soon on high-tech skills, right? Do you think that we should rethink our education models to prioritize foundational competencies first? Because we bring people into companies or we take people into training programs and we're very quick to teach them things that tend to be higher level or more technical, but then we come to find that, just the foundational competencies, the foundational skills are lacking, and that starts to create friction between them and the employers. So do you think that we should rethink the education models that we are building?
Thanks. Absolutely. I think it's obvious that when you're building houses, it doesn't make sense to build them on sand. And the situation that we find ourselves in now is the one that those foundational skills tend not to be there so much. I think it's important for us to be thinking about not just what we are teaching, but how we are teaching it. For those of us who grew up in different generations from everybody else in this room, we were not put into a room to be taught these high-order thinking skills, or what I would call common sense. It's not something that was structured. They were all nonlinear in those days. And I feel that we need to go back to how we were taught in those days, because those building blocks are the ones that will now set us up to be able to learn for these digital skills. And it's quite interesting because I find myself at a crossroads where I'm teaching soft skills first, but I'm also running a tech training program. So it actually does make sense for us to put them into this room where they're learning critical skills, analytical skills, and not only about what they're doing on their social media, but what it is that your laptop can actually teach you in terms of research. What are you looking for? What are the solutions that you're also bringing into the world that you're living in? So definitely those skills need to be there first.
So you mentioned something about teaching soft skills first before having to go on to teach the tech skills. And I'm curious, the education service providers who maybe focus on just one aspect of things, I tend to find that there's different people working in silos, myself as well. We're working in silos, and so how do you think we can bridge that gap? Because it's understandable if someone starts, if they build their curriculum because based on their expertise, and let's say they know the tech skills, that's what they can teach. How do we go about bringing, people or collaborating with those who have the soft skill competence, the service providers who have the soft skill competence? What do you think? How do you think that we can better collaborate? Because I find that there's a serious gap in that regard.
I think it should be like an easy process, because we all know that it's not just about having the technical skills. If you can't work in a team, if you can't keep to your timing when you're asked to do tasks, and everybody's having a go at you because you've not delivered on that, then it's obvious that those soft skills need to be taught as well. And I think even from when the Allison gentleman was talking about what he's teaching, it's also what we are teaching in our own space. It's not always about what everybody else is doing in the other parts of the world. The Africa that we want to build is the Africa that we can build by ourselves, and we must build by ourselves. So all those things around the culture that we have, we need to go back to that for how it is that we are teaching our young people.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to Mrs. Feyisayo. Good morning. And I'm going to ask around, obviously you work with the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, and what do you think are the immediate and emphasis on scalable policy initiatives that agencies like the LSETF can deploy to support Nigeria's workforce transition into AI-driven jobs?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. So LSETF is pretty much there to support the ecosystem to ensure there are opportunities for jobs for everyone in Lagos State. And that's pretty much our mandate in a nutshell. And speaking specifically to technology innovation and AI, we have one of our core programs called Lagos Innovates, where we serve as a conduit between the startup ecosystem and also the funders. And we've done about 10 cycles over the last 5-6 years, and it's been a good platform to let people provide visibility that there are people doing good work in Lagos State. There are beneficiaries that are actually solving Lagos State problems. Now, in terms of your specific question, I think what we've done so far is in two parts. One is in terms of upskilling and making sure that the issue around access to trainings around data is no longer a problem. We have been able to provide free training on certain courses, including planning to do one regarding AI. And it's an opportunity to share with everyone that in terms of embracing change and AI, there's no more excuse because there's a lot of information out there. So the first thing is supporting that and providing upskilling opportunities. The second one is being that ecosystem and builder. And one thing I would highlight is, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with LASRIC, so it's Lagos State Science Research Innovation Council. And there's a 1 billion pot that the governor has set aside for anyone that's doing work in research or science or innovation that's actually solving real world problems. You can go on there, provide your solution, and apply for that grant. So what we're doing in making sure that, one, accessibility is no longer an issue because you have no reason not to upskill yourself, but also making sure that there's a support to drive the ecosystem for anyone that's developing or using AI to actually solve a problem. You can apply for that challenge and apply for that funds. And then the last thing I want to highlight in terms of the policy drive, just making sure that data is available and making sure that for those that need the data, they actually have that information when it's required. We have a labor market information system, LMIS, and you might go into one of the different rooms and you see that we're actually showcasing what LMIS can do. And the data is there that anyone that is either on the demand side of labor or supply side of labor, and you require information on what skills I need to have to fill a particular job, or what skills can I embark on, all that information is there. I'll give a very small example that helped put into context. One of our beneficiaries who was in the creative sector, who's a fashion designer, she had come to us to say, I want to see how I can merge my technical skills with fashion. And we thought, that's brilliant. You're actually trying to help other fashion designers that, are not good in design, but they're good in production. And she was able to use AI with her training to actually develop a software that helps fashion designers to be able to create their design upfront and then scale their production. So this is one of the interventions we're doing to just say across all of the different segments in tech and the creative sector, AI is actually there to push. But on the policy side, there's a lot of work going on, and we're making sure that access is no longer an issue, and as well as affordability. Thank you.
Thank you. So emphasis on access and affordability.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to go on to, this is Oiza. Over 80% of Nigeria's workforce is informal, and I'm curious about what digital strategies you think can bridge the gap between informal labor and the formal economic structure.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So when we talk about the economic structures, I want to start with digital identity management systems, for example. So the government has done well as far as getting the NIN, the BVN, and that's fantastic. But then there's a whole set of, if you think about the BVN, for example, there's a whole set of people that are unbanked and don't have bank accounts. How do you bring them, into the fold? And how do you use technology, AI, to ensure that there's an integration between these systems? Because a lot of times we have issues, certainly in the sector, in the development sector that I work in, and I'll give you an example of the health sector, for example. We have a lot of digital information systems, but they're not interoperable, right? So how do we use the BVN, the NIN, how do we integrate that and ensure that it is giving access to an unbanked population? Another example you might say in terms of economic structures is the e-commerce space. So we have companies like the Jumias, we have, I think it's Flutterwave, that are creating that marketplace for goods and services. But again, there's a whole set of people that are not interacting in that space. How do we take maybe farm-to-market approaches, right? The farmers that are there, can they, for example, trade, I don't know, groceries, yams, whatever it is, on those kind of platforms, ensuring that they come into that space? So these are some of the, some examples. And dare I say it, taxation. Taxation of itself is not a bad thing, but it's thinking about what are the incentives. So I know there's a whole tax reform bill that's happening, that's happening now. And I know the government is grappling with how do you bring the informal sector into that net. But if you flip it and think about what are the incentives, right? How do you make it easy for the informal sector to get registered? The government has done a lot around business registration. I think now you can do it in 4 weeks. It used to be about, I don't know, a couple of months. But imagine if you could bring that informal sector into registration. Now you might ask, well, what's the incentive for them? If they're able to build a whole, let's say, financial history, then it means that they're able to access loans from banks, they're able to access insurance, they're able to access, so many other things that they wouldn't have previously been able to access. And then I think the gentleman that first spoke talked about, there's a whole gig economy, isn't there? There are platforms like Fiverr now that allow Africans, or indeed anybody, to be able to get, sell their, skills in a global marketplace. You can as well have something like that is local, right? And whether it's artisans it's bringing in, or whether it's very sector specific. I think in countries like Ghana, for example, they have, so the cocoa farmers, they have an online kind of payment platform, system. How do we replicate those sort of things? So I think there's quite a lot of opportunity as far as digital strategies and how they can bring in that informal sector.
I agree. And I want to go back to the informal sector briefly. Sasama? Yes. And I'm curious about what you think around strategies for advocacy, right? So how do we, what are feasible strategies for advocacy that we can implement or deploy that, would encourage, because I also find that mindset is also a huge blocker, right? Mindset can be a huge blocker. And so what are these advocacy strategies that can be implemented so that these people can also better accept, the digital transformation innovations like AI, and also so that it enhances their productivity and earnings?
Okay. All right, thanks for that question. First off, I'll say that there's a demographic shift when it comes to construction skills in particular. So the majority of the people who stick to construction, like if you meet your plumber that is 45 years old, right? He's probably been doing the same thing since he was a teenager, right? So there's been no change. But then we have the Gen Zs and the ones coming behind them. But when you ask them, how many of them want to be plumbers and masons or want to be foremen? Very, very few of them, right? So if you do not find a way to glamorize these trades, it's going to be very difficult to get people to, to subscribe to those jobs, right? So let me first start from Hollywood and Nollywood and those producers who reflect blue-collar jobs as less than white-collar jobs. First off, we have a whole generation who feel that if you're not holding a laptop, right, or a digital device, you are backward. Probably yes, because companies that develop both software and even the cultural background for some of these industries, they are tilted towards certain sectors, right? But for the construction sector, that's it's brick and mortar, right? It's work, right? But however, we need other types of initiatives. Like there's the iCreate, there's the Construction Artisans Awards. Those kinds of initiatives, right, kind of like put those skill sets in the front of people who need to see them and who need to look at them as a career direction. That's one. Then secondly, the career transition from through the blue collar lifeline for their career growth needs to be properly put in front of people who are taking those skill sets. Like for example, like I made an example about plumbers. Yeah. There needs to be a way that the educational institutions are actually marketing these particular skills, right? Like we tend not to, when you see like the billboard of a university or a technical school, they'll probably want to give you somebody in a suit, right? And not present someone that is blue collar. So we need an entire collaboration when it comes to the media and advocacy to be able to put blue collar skills as one of those skills that young people should go after.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Agreed. I'm gonna switch things up quickly, just so we touch a little bit on Web3, the blockchain space. Yeah. And my question is, for Web3 and blockchain, we can see that it's reshaping global employment. What are practical applications of these technologies, and how can they directly benefit Nigerian workers?
Okay. I was trying not to go to tech. Okay, him. All right, sorry.
Directed to him. Yes.
Okay.
Right, thank you very much. I think you're in the moment. Okay, so for Web3, I think, let me just call it blockchain. I think one of the biggest things that we have going in Web3 is the decentralized nature of the technology, right? In that there is something for everybody as far as Web3 goes, right? It has created that opportunity for a lot of Nigerians to tap into the global market via remote work and stuff like that. Now, basically, what we've championed from our own end at Blockchain of Africa is to help train individuals to be able to tap into this global market. And of course, there are two categories of players in this space, the people that provide the services, and of course, in the service side, there are non-technical roles and technical roles. The other category is the people that build these Web3 applications and stuff on the blockchain. Now, what that has done for both parties is that we've been able to get into the space where we see brick-and-mortar businesses and traditional businesses being able to tap into new markets by tokenizing their businesses, right? And that is captured in the asset class that we call real-world asset. Now, what that has done is that it has broken the barrier to break into new markets. So for an average Nigerian, to answer your question directly, I think living in the moment now is the biggest opportunity for people to access market that prior to now they were unable to access. In that remote job is now a lot more easier for people as far as Web3 goes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that. What I hear is access from you, and Web3 gives anyone that access to be able to. So we're going to open up the floor now for questions. We're going to take 2 questions because I think we've run out of time. If you have any questions, please keep it brief, and please be specific about who you'd like, which one of our panelists you'd like to answer your question. If there's anyone who can help with the mic. Do we have any questions? Okay, there's one over there.
Thank you. My name is Abaso Motosho, and my question goes to the blockchain expert. I learned there are so many business opportunities around Web3 and blockchain technology that so many people can tap into to create business opportunities for themselves. And my question to you is, what are you doing exactly and precisely to enlighten and to sensitize Nigerians on how they can leverage on Web3 and blockchain technology? That's number one. Then number two, sometime last year, we were able to verify our wallet on Telegram successfully as a Nigerian. But presently, as a Nigerian, you can't verify your wallet on Telegram. And that's make me curious. And as a technology expert, I decided to ask you, what are you guys doing around it? And how can we, get better opportunities from this site? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. The first question you asked is very intriguing in that it's going to help me to highlight some of the things that we're doing with the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, Enugu State, in preparation for the ETF, that is Enugu Tech Festival. What the Honorable Commissioner have done is to give us access to train a lot of young people, mainly people that are still in school, to equip them with the skill set to be able to use Web3 tools, to tap into this market, and then be able to make money for themselves, support themselves in school, and then, like help their family too. Now, the Web3 space is very decentralized. What that means is that you don't need to be on the payroll of a particular company to be able to earn money from what they've built, right? You can become a Web3 application tester. You don't need to apply to maybe any blockchain protocol like Ethereum Foundation, Zend, Arbitrum, and the rest. Just understand how to use these basic tools and then be able to test applications that are building, and then you'll be able to get rewards in return. And that is one of the things that we are doing with the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology in Enugu State in preparation for ETF currently. We are training people for free in that regard. The second question you asked, I don't think that is entirely true. In Web3 space, because it's decentralized, you have a lot of players in this space. So I think the issue you're having is tailored to the particular protocol you're interacting with or application. For Ton blockchain, which is owned by Telegram, the open network, you can actually verify your wallet and do whatever you don't need actually to verify your wallet, just to download the application and set up your wallet. So I think the issue you had is with a particular application, not Ton blockchain in itself. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We have time for one more question, if anyone has. Yeah, we'll take the gentleman.
Good day, everyone. My name is Dr. Stanley White. I work with Genius Hub. My question, before I ask my question, I would like to commend Ms. Balogun on the having to incorporate soft skills into her training, because we have a dearth of soft skills, especially among young persons. And we seem to forget that beyond just the technical skills, you need soft skills to be able to work within a team and with your clients and all, which is what we do at Genius Hub. Beyond just, before we go ahead with technical skills, we make sure that we teach soft skills and life skills to our beneficiaries. Now to my question. When we talk about the future of work, digitalization, we often look at white-collar jobs, and we seem to forget the blue-collar jobs, because when we're talking about remote jobs and digitalization, my question is, what do you think we need to do to, in terms of inclusion, carry blue-collar jobs in the scheme of things when we're talking about the future of work? Thank you.
Can I ask who the question is directed to? Mrs. Balogun? Okay. Oh, okay.
All right. Thanks for that question. Okay. Most of the innovation that comes into the blue-collar space right now is coming from tech companies. Very few blue-collar service providers are actually doing research and development when it comes to either building platforms or including some of these soft skills into the digital transformation. So I'll just say there needs to be a huge collaboration between different players to be able to carry. We need to generate some interest by technology companies who are developing solutions to be able to provide these services. Maybe we approaching them, to help in their solutions, or just putting out some of the pain points, that we're going through, so that some of these providers. Secondly, at some point, every organization needs to integrate some type of IT function into their space to be able to, develop some of the things that they are doing internally, because it might be a bit difficult to translate those issues to a software developer to be able to build those things. So we need that broad collaboration to be able to drive things forward. That's
Sorry. All right, thank you. Thank you very much for the questions. Thank you to our panelists.